Hey guys, my name's Haley, and welcome to Haystacks Happenings. For those of you who don't know me, I'm Haley, and I graduated from the University of Mount Union with my Bachelor's of Science in Nursing, and just passed my NCLEX in June, and I'm getting ready to go to the Peace Corps. So this video is really just to kind of go over the application process that I went through, the interview process, how did I even get into Peace Corps, what made me want to do it, what motivated me, and to provide tips for those of you who might be interested in doing a similar thing. So basically, my whole life I've always wanted to serve other people and travel. Like, that's just been my two main things. To be honest, I didn't even want a degree. I didn't know where to go. And so if this is sounding like you, Peace Corps is definitely a route to look into. So anyway, I started looking into Peace Corps probably November of last year, just really exploring the idea. I also looked into some other options, such as the Jesuit Volunteer Corps and more ministry-based programs. Faith is a big role in my life, and so I looked at kind of doing something along those lines. YWAM was another option, but Peace Corps just seemed the best fit for me, and this might be different for you. But yeah, my dad wanted me to use my degree, and just financially it made more sense, and I'll kind of go into that a little bit more. But that was just kind of like what got me started in it. So I applied for the Peace Corps on December 29th of 2022, and that process is different. So I'm going to pull up a screen and kind of show on the Peace Corps website the different options that you can do. So one route of going about applying for Peace Corps is to go onto their website and to go to all of the different countries that are available in the different continents, and applying for a specific position in a specific place for a job. So they have health, they have environmental, and they have a couple others that are listed there. And so you can filter jobs based on what you're interested in. So health was the one that I was interested in. Even though I didn't go this route, this is just one of the ways that you can do it. So you can filter there and apply for a very specific job in a specific location. And I think you can put multiple applications in that way. So that's one route of going about it. But then there's another option that I took, was to apply for a general position. And when I say general, not as in like everything, if that makes any sense, just not applying for a specific country or job per se. But yeah, so you go through this process of applying for either one of those two. So I took the general route just because I wasn't very picky about where I wanted to go. I just knew I wanted to travel, and I knew I wanted to help people, and I wanted to be used to the best of my abilities, would be able to serve whatever community, and so wherever they saw fit the best. So yeah, so I applied for the general position, and a lot of the application, it's a long application. There's a few essays, there's your resume, there's a general health form, some references that you have to turn in as well. So it's kind of a long application process, just to get you started. So I applied for that, and that was on December 29th of 2022. I heard back on January 5th, 2023, that they were considering me for a position in Panama as a youth health facilitator. So I was really excited. I was like, okay, like, here we go, something to, they're considering me for it. And when they're considering for it, the job, it doesn't mean that you have the position. It's just that, okay, that's where my abilities looked like they would be used best. And on the website, I'll show this too, there's like a little tracker bar of like where your application is, what it's gone through, like how far you're at in it. So so they were considering me for Panama on January 5th, 2023. I made sure my 3 references were turned in and my general health form. And then I ended up, so I wasn't able to go to Panama because I had already planned a trip that summer for the same dates that they were leaving. So unfortunately that wasn't going to work for me, and they were very flexible in just like talking about other options. And then, so basically I turned that down, and January 25th, so 20 days later, I was under review for Albania as the health extension volunteer. It only took 20 days for them to review and put me somewhere else, but again, this varies depending on application, but that was just the next place that they thought would fit me best, which is where I'm preparing to go for. So, spoiler alert. So I was under review for Albania, and then I basically didn't hear anything between then and the 7th of February. So that's not a super long time, but about a week and a half or so of not hearing about what they were considering. And that's just them looking over the application, them looking over all my references, all of those sorts of things. So then on the 7th of February, I heard that they wanted me to have an interview. So I was like, oh my gosh, okay. So I scheduled that for the 16th of February, and the interview can be a bit intimidating. Mine was scheduled from 4 to 5:30 p.m., so it's like, when you're thinking about like an hour and a half interview, like, that's a long time for an interview. I've never had an interview that long, let alone like for an actual job, and so I was super nervous. But if you've made it to this point in the Peace Corps journey, like, it's so exciting because this is really starting to become a potential, and I think during this time, this is when you start talking to your family members about, like, or whoever you care about really considering doing something like this, because you're leaving your life behind and starting something new, which is so exciting, but also you want to make sure that it's realistic for where you're at in your life. So that's where I started to talk to my family more and more about really doing this. And I had my interview, and they send you like all of the questions that they're going to ask during the interview. Like, I got a document that said, like, this, like, review these questions, follow that to a T. Like, that is exactly what they asked me. And so what I recommend doing is, once you get those questions, go through and write all of them out. Because it just, like, don't follow it like a script when you go through your interview, but just to have as a reference point to get your thoughts on paper, like what you actually are going to say during the interview. And they want very specific examples, so it's not just like, for example, one of the questions is about diversity, like, what's your experience with diversity and different cultures, and they don't want to hear, like, I went to school and there were a bunch of diverse groups and I got along with people. That's not what they want to hear. They want to hear that you had a specific example. So, like, for me, like, I had traveled over spring break to a couple different places. I went to the Dominican Republic, and so I used that as, like, one of my culture experiences. And they want longer term things too. So as I did use that as an example, but they also wanted something that was like more than 2 weeks long, a month or longer, of working with people in different cultures, so that kind of thing. So keep that in mind as you're writing out your responses on like what experiences you have, and make them specific, because that's what they really want to hear. And during the interview, I can link the questions that I asked, but remember that you're not only interviewing for this position, but you're also interviewing them to see if, like, this is right for you, and that they're going to provide what you need to have a good experience. So I asked quite a few questions towards the end of, like, at the end of my interview, and I can link those down below. But yeah, so the interview, I think, went really well. It's definitely intimidating. I like to joke around when I am, like, stressed or overwhelmed and don't know what to say, and they won't necessarily react to your, like, jokes or something. Like, it's very professional, and they're, it's not that they're, like, mean or anything like that. It's just, you're not going to get the normal response to a joke that you might make. So just keep that in mind, as you're going to, go into that. Don't take that as, like, a bad thing. Just know that they're not as reactive to, certain comments that you might make or something like that. Okay, so some other interview tips is to just practice beforehand, practice with a friend, just, go over your answers and your responses, and they might ask you a couple more questions during the interview, just to clarify, like, what you might be saying, and don't take that as a bad thing either. Just be yourself, be confident in what you've experienced and done, but I definitely recommend practicing and writing those answers out beforehand, because that's exactly what they're going to ask you, and have questions prepared for what you're interested in, or what you have questions about. Okay, so then I had the interview. They also had sent me an email at that time that I needed to get fingerprinting done. So you're already going to be starting this long process of things. There's a lot to do. So after the interview, I got an email about starting to get fingerprinting done, just because of how long it takes. I am still currently not legally cleared, and neither are some of the other volunteers. It just takes such a long time, and so it's a little bit nerve-wracking, but they have lots of people that you can contact throughout the process. So I've been sending a couple emails, just making sure I'm still on track. Yeah, so there's the fingerprinting, so February 16th I had the interview. Sorry, there's a fish. Okay. February 16th I had the interview, and then March 7th I got the email that I had been invited to serve the Peace Corps, and I just started crying because I was just so excited. I didn't know if I should expect it or not, so it took nearly a month for them for me to hear back from the interview. But the invitation, you have 72 hours to respond to, and so as the whole thing throughout the Peace Corps journey, make sure you're checking your email. Like, it doesn't matter what you're doing or what steps you're in, check your email every single day, because they will send you stuff and you don't want to miss it. I was in the Dominican when I got this notification, and I was luckily connected to Wi-Fi that day, but I had already been a day late to seeing the email. So I had 48 hours to respond to the interview, or to the invitation, and, made some phone calls, read over the job description again, like, made sure, like, this is something that I really want to do, that I see myself, pursuing, and that it was the right fit, and, I accepted, but as soon as you accept, like, as soon as the interview process is over, and as soon as you get that invitation, you're going to get so many next steps. There's so much to do for Peace Corps to make sure that you're fit for the job and that you're safe. So medical stuff came the next day. Like, as soon as I accepted, the next day I was getting medical portal stuff and tasks to do, and more and more and more and more and more tasks, and you just have to get used to that, because there's so many. But they just want to make sure that you're fit for the job and that you're going to be safe. And so please be honest on all of your things. Like, I know it's intimidating. They ask a lot of personal questions, especially about mental health, especially about medical stuff, but, like, be honest with them, because you don't want to get to another country where you don't know anything and it be an unsafe environment for you to work in. Like, they want you to volunteer. They want you to be there. If you are like-minded enough and you are driven and you are passionate to do this kind of work, they want you there. It's not that they don't, but they want you to be safe at the end of the day. And so just be honest on all of your medical stuff. But if I could give any advice through the tasks, as soon as you accept, start calling. If you have a provider that you see regularly, start calling and trying to schedule an appointment, because they're going to need a lot of information. For me, I saw a cardiologist, and so I needed to make a general appointment just to get all of the information from the past, to do a checkup, to, just get updated things. And so start that process right away. Like, you see an OBGYN, you see your dentist, you'll see an eye doctor, you'll see all of your doctors. So if I could recommend anything, I know specialties, especially specialties, it takes a long process sometimes to get into a doctor like that. So make sure you're starting that process right away after you accept. Other things with medical and all of those questions, just, yeah, be honest about your responses. One thing to note is that if you have an EpiPen, you have an allergy. I've heard this. I don't know, if this is 100% true, but if you have an EpiPen, I've heard that you won't be accepted for the Peace Corps because there has been an issue in the past where a volunteer had forgotten their EpiPen and passed away because of that, and it's just a liability risk. Again, it's not that they don't want you to serve, it's just they want you to be safe, and a lot of these environments that you're going to be in are not the safest environment for certain allergies or medical conditions. So be honest with them. If you have an EpiPen, there's other programs out there that would gladly support you, but Peace Corps just might not be the right journey. But double check on that. I'm not 100% sure. So medical clearance stuff is a long process, and just stay with it, check up on everything. You have a nurse, you have a portal that is there for you 24/7. You can send any kind of messages that you want, and just ask any questions you want. I was in contact with mine all the time, and just double checking on things, making sure, the process is going well. And Peace Corps does a really good job about, laying out the steps. So if you have any questions about anything, all the emails they send you usually have a response contact at the bottom that you can go to for any questions or concerns. But also just, follow those emails to a T and double check on things. Constantly check your emails. So medical clearance started on the 9th, and I just ended 2 weeks ago getting my final vaccinations before I leave. And then on the 23rd of March, I got passport information for getting a visa, a work visa, that kind of thing. So again, all within a month after accepting, you're getting a ton of information on the next steps. So then from there, it was a lot of medical stuff. You're not really hearing any more job details. So continue to get your affairs in order, whatever you need to be ready to go for, when the date's coming up. Throughout the summer, I was working and trying to save some money for things, but Peace Corps does provide stipends while you're there, and it will provide for literally everything. I know I'm not there yet, but from the sounds of it, they are providing for anything and everything you need, even from traveling to my staging where I'll leave from either DC or Philly. They're providing travel reimbursement for that. So they're there for you for that, and health reimbursement, all of those medical costs, they will reimburse you for things. So just make sure you're taking advantage of that. But I worked throughout the summer and just tried to start mentally preparing myself for entering a new culture and a new language and all those things. It wasn't until July, I believe, that I got an email about a learning portal where I can go online and learn about the Albanian culture and the Albanian language all through the Peace Corps, and just kind of read up a little bit more about those things. So I still need to do a lot more. I have less than a month until I leave, but language is something that's definitely intimidating. They speak Albanian. I do not yet, but I've been listening to some podcasts and taking advantage of their learning portal. They do a questionnaire on there to see, to start trying to fit you with the best host family. You'll learn that something that was really intimidating for me too was that they don't have an exact placement for you yet. So yes, I know I'm going to Albania, but I don't know where specifically in the country. So just know that that's not an unusual thing, that they won't really tell you exactly where you're going, and I think we don't learn that until pre-service training. They have places and locations picked out that where communities need served, but they want to make sure that they put you in the best possible spot. So meeting us, sending out questionnaires, and just getting to know us is the best way that they're going to be able to do that. So pay attention again to your email during that time, but yeah, that's just some of the ways that they make sure that you're going to the right place and, the best fit community environment. So yeah, I've been working on learning space things, starting to reach out to other volunteers. I was able to meet with somebody in Cleveland, one of the volunteers in my group, and she was just fantastic, and it just makes me so excited because a lot of the people going to the Peace Corps, at least from, meeting her and from what it sounds like, are just very like-minded. And so it's nice to find in a culture where volunteering and helping other people and not being worried about money isn't necessarily popular, to find other like-minded individuals who are just passionate about serving the world and the community and, who are just incredible human beings. So I'm so excited after meeting her. I reached out to another couple of volunteers. We've had Zoom calls, so I think we had 2 so far, and we have 1 more before we leave. That one's September 18th. I leave the 2nd of October, so that one's going to be over pre-service training and a lot more of details going into that. We started a WhatsApp group chat through that and have started communicating about packing and questions, and there's volunteers that are currently there, so we've been in contact with them and asking them tons of questions about, what should we bring, what shouldn't we bring. I will do another video on what I pack. I'm still not 100% sure. So far it's been a lot of thrifting and preparing for different climates, because they're much colder in the winter than the U.S., especially because a lot of places, like villages and stuff, won't have AC or central heat, so preparing for the highs and lows of the temperature changes. Just some other things. I don't know, I think Peace Corps is just a great opportunity to go out and serve in the world, and I'm excited for what it'll bring. Obviously there's a lot of unknowns still, but I hope this video just has helped anyone who's considering the Peace Corps. If you have any questions about anything, please put them in the comments below. I'd love to help wherever possible. Know that the Peace Corps is there for you and will support you. There's an amazing, amazing community of volunteers, recent and returned, that would love to answer any questions. I'm here for you. Yeah, that's basically what I have for this video. Thanks for joining me, and I'm looking forward to the next one. Bye.